We were in New Orleans for Mardi Gras weekend, and we'd done everything you're supposed to do. Hit Bourbon Street, caught beads, drank hand grenades, danced to brass bands. But by Sunday night, we were burnt out. Kat, who had been to Louisiana before, had a brilliant idea. Let's get out of the city. Let's see the real Louisiana. That's how we ended up at a swamp tour shack about an hour outside New Orleans. Some guy at the bar told us about it. Best airboat tour in the state. No tourists, just locals. And since we weren't thinking straight, we went. The place was a dive. A little wooden dock, a rusted sign that just said, tours, and an old man named Jacques who smelled like beer, cigarettes, and something foul. "You want to see the real swamp?" he asked, grinning wide. "Or you want the tour?" We laughed. The real swamp. He just shook his head. "You don't want to say that." But he took our money, and he took us out there. The airboat ride started normal. The wind in our hair. The swamp stretching out like something from a movie. Dark waters reflecting the twisted cypress trees. Jacques told us about alligators, voodoo, and the rougarou, Louisiana's werewolf. It don't come after just anyone. It comes for sinners. I laughed. Well, we're screwed. Jacques didn't laugh. As we drank our beers, we got careless. We egged Jacques on, dared him to go deeper to take us somewhere off the map. So he did. The airboat slowed, and suddenly the world felt different. The swamp was too still. No crickets, no frogs, no distant splash of an alligator. Just silence. Then I smelled it. Something rotten, like wet fur and blood baking in the sun. "All right," Jacques muttered. "Time to go." That's when something crashed through the trees. I turned just in time to see a massive shape launch itself from the cypress branches. Black fur, long limbs, glowing yellow eyes. It hit the airboat hard, nearly flipping us. Kat screamed, and Drew fell overboard, splashing into the black water. The thing, whatever it was, landed on the deck. It was wrong. Not just a wolf, not just a man. Something caught between the two. It had a snout too long, teeth too jagged, claws as long as my fingers, but worst of all, it smiled. I froze. Jacques didn't. He pulled a knife the size of my arm and swung. The thing ducked, fast, too fast, and slashed at Jacques' arm, sending him sprawling. Then it turned its eyes on me. I couldn't move. Then I heard Drew screaming in the water. And the thing, it laughed. A low, guttural, inhuman chuckle. It knew we weren't going anywhere. Then Jacques did something insane. He grabbed a bottle of moonshine, popped the cap, and threw it into the beast's face. The thing screeched, stumbling back, its eyes burning. Jacques grabbed me by the collar. "Run!" I didn't hesitate. Drew was already scrambling onto the deck, shaking, covered in mud and blood. We hauled him up, and Jacques gunned the engine. The last thing I saw before we sped off was the thing standing on the edge of the boat, shaking itself off, its fur steaming, its eyes burning holes through me. It didn't chase us. It just watched and smiled. We didn't stop until we were back at the dock, panting, shaking, soaking wet. Jacques climbed out, lit a cigarette with shaking hands, and muttered, "I told y'all, you don't want to see the real swamp." We tried to laugh, tried to convince ourselves it was just a wild animal, or maybe we were too drunk to know the difference. But as we drove back to New Orleans, Kat finally spoke. "Did you hear it laugh?" None of us answered, because we all did. And we knew we weren't making that part up. I haven't gone back. And when I hear something howl at night, something deep and wet and laughing, I shut my windows, lock my doors, and tell myself it was just the alcohol. Even though I know better,